Long before tarred roads and electricity poles reached the land, there was a village called Umokoro, a place where the earth was red, the palm trees swayed like dancers, and the spirits of the ancestors were never far from the living. In that village lived a young woman named Adis. She was the only daughter of her father, born after many years of waiting. Her birth had once brought joy to her mother's heart. So when she grew into a graceful woman with bright eyes and a calm voice, many suitors came. But she chose Obina. Obina, the first son of Ozo Majabuchi, a respected titled elder whose compound stood at the center of the village. Their wedding was one Umokoro would not forget. The egu drums echoed across the hills. Kola nuts were broken. Palm wine flowed. The elders prayed. May your womb be fruitful like the yam barn in harvest. Everyone expected to hear the cry of a child within a year. But the year passed. And silence remained. At first, it was gentle concern. Be patient, the women said. Then it became advice. Drink this herb. Visit that dibia. Sleep facing the east. Then it became whispers. She laughs too much for a barren woman.
Too loud.
Maybe she offended Ola, the earth goddess. Obina defended his wife at every turn. My Adis is not cursed, he would say. But even his voice began to lose strength when his mother, Mama Obina, started pressing harder. You are my first son, she would remind him.
Who will inherit your father's
Ozo title? Who will pour libation when we are gone? At night, Adis would lie awake, listening to the distant cries of babies in neighboring compounds. Each cry pierced her heart like a thorn. She prayed. She fasted. She swallowed bitter roots that made her stomach twist. Still, nothing. One harmattan evening, when the sky was pale with dust and the air carried a strange chill, an old woman appeared at Adis' hut. No one knew where she came from. Her wrapper was faded. Her walking stick crooked like a question mark. But her eyes held something deeper than age. Adis, the woman called softly. Adis was startled. Mama, do I know you? You know pain, the woman replied. That is enough. The old woman leaned closer. Beyond the farmlands, past the stream of Nui, there is a grove. In that grove lives the guardian of this land, the great python. It is older than your husband's lineage. It listens when the gods are silent. Adis' breath caught. Everyone in Umokoro knew of the sacred python. It was not an ordinary snake. It was believed to be a messenger of the spirits, a living shrine. Killing it meant death. Even harming it required cleansing rituals. I cannot go there, Adis whispered. You can, the old woman said. If your desire is stronger than your fear. When Adis looked up again, the woman was gone. No footprints. No sound. The night journey. 3 nights later, when the moon was round and full like a pregnant belly, Adis made her decision. She told no one. Not even Obina. She wrapped herself in a plain white cloth and slipped out while the compound slept. The forest path was darker than she imagined. Owls hooted. Dry leaves cracked under her feet. Every shadow looked alive. When she reached the stream of Nui, the water shimmered strangely under the moonlight. Then she saw it. The sacred grove. Tall Iroko trees formed a circle, their branches twisting like watchful arms. In the center stood a flat ancient stone stained with years of sacrifice. The air felt heavy. Sacred. Adis knelt. If I have sinned, forgive me, she cried. If my womb is locked, open it. I offer my pride. I offer my tears. Just let me hold a child. The forest went silent. Even the insects stopped. Then came a sound, slow, deliberate, like dry leaves being dragged across earth. From behind the stone, it emerged. The great python. Its body was enormous, thicker than a man's thigh. Its scales shimmered bronze and black under the moon. Its eyes were not wild. They were knowing. Addis trembled but did not run. The python circled her once. Twice. Then it lifted its head and stared into her eyes. Suddenly, Addis felt something, a warmth rising from the ground into her body. It was not pain. It was not pleasure. It was something ancient. The wind rose violently. The trees bent. A whisper filled her ears, not in words, but in understanding. Then darkness swallowed her. The awakening. At dawn, hunters found Addis lying unconscious in the grove. When she awoke in her husband's hut, the dibia stood over her. "You crossed into a realm not meant for ordinary feet," he said carefully. But he said nothing more. Weeks passed. Then one morning, Addis vomited behind her hut. The women exchanged glances. The midwife smiled. "You carry life." The compound erupted in celebration. Mama Obina slaughtered a goat. Palm wine was poured. Obina lifted his wife and spun her like a child. But the dibia remained silent. Watching. Signs and shadows. The pregnancy was not ordinary. Whenever Addis walked near the forest, snakes slithered away instead of attacking. Once, a cobra was found coiled near her doorway. Instead of striking, it lay still as if guarding. Addis' dreams grew vivid. She would see herself standing in the sacred grove, the python coiled protectively around her swollen belly. And in every dream, she heard one message. He is not just yours.
He's not yours alone.
On the night her labor began, the sky turned black without warning. Thunder shook the huts. Rain poured like a river from heaven. As Addis screamed in labor, lightning struck the tallest Iroko tree near the sacred grove, splitting it in two. At that exact moment, the child cried. The boy. Strong voice. Bright eyes. But when the midwife cleaned his back, she gasped. Across his shoulder blades were faint markings like delicate scales pressed into his skin. The room fell silent. The dibia was called. He studied the child carefully. Then he said, "This boy walks with both worlds." They named him Chibi's, God is King. As he grew, strange things followed him. He crawled toward bushes without fear. He laughed at the sight of snakes. Once, when a farmer tried to kill a python in his field, the boy screamed in agony from across the village until the snake was released. The elders began to whisper. Such children bring either salvation or destruction. Mama Obina, who once mocked Addis' barrenness, now avoided the boy's gaze. Because sometimes, she felt he could see through her. The drought. Years passed peacefully until a terrible drought struck Umokoro. Crops failed. The stream dried. Animals died. The dibia performed sacrifices. Nothing changed. One evening, now a young teenager, Chibi stood up in the village square. "I will go to the grove," he said calmly. Fear gripped the villagers. But he walked without hesitation. Addis followed from a distance, her heart pounding. When he reached the sacred stone, he stood tall and closed his eyes. The air grew still. Then the earth trembled. Clouds gathered from nowhere. Thunder roared. And from the shadows, the great python emerged one final time. It circled the boy not as master to servant, but as guardian to air. Rain poured. Heavy. Relentless. The drought was broken. The villagers fell on their faces. And in that moment, they understood. Addis' emptiness had not been a curse. It had been preparation for something greater than ordinary motherhood. She had carried not just a child, but a covenant. And from that day forward, no woman in Umokoro was mocked for barrenness. Because sometimes, the gods delay. Not to punish, but to prepare.